Well, this is not the first time the courts have ordered the release of Zakzaky. For years, his supporters have been demanding his freedom, sometimes engaging in protests that turned violent. Faith Orr looks back at his time in custody.
Ibrahim el-Zakzaky was detained alongside his wife in 2015. His arrest took place in the aftermath of what's become known as the Zaria massacre. Rights group Amnesty International says Nigerian soldiers carried out the mass slaughter of hundreds of men, women and children, and then tried to cover it up by dumping bodies in mass graves. It's an accusation the armed forces deny.
We are concerned that this is yet another instance of the Nigerian military forces continuing with its abusive practices. We're hopeful that with the new administration in Nigeria, there would be a serious independent investigation to hold abusers to account, but otherwise it will add up to the history of abusive practice by Nigerian military forces, particularly in northern Nigeria.
Zakzaky is the leader of a Shia group, the Islamic movement in Nigeria, and his followers have continually demonstrated demanding his release. These protests are often peaceful, but they have been known to descend into violence. Dozens of demonstrators have been killed over the years by security forces, and many more arrested. In one particular incident in July 2019, 2 people were killed when the protesters tried to enter the National Assembly building. Several police officers were wounded. This prompted members of the House of Representatives to get involved, calling on the government to release Zakzaky in line with court rulings. And that's because his release has been ordered before, on several occasions and by different courts. But the authorities refused to comply, at one point saying he was being held in protective custody. Zakzaky was initially held without charge for more than a year, and wasn't even seen in public for 3 years after being arrested. The Sheikh is now 68 and suffering health problems. Because of this, his followers appealed to the government to pardon him because of the pandemic. Because of this, his followers appealed to the government to pardon him due to the coronavirus pandemic. Supporters say the couple have been imprisoned in Kaduna State, where conditions threaten their well-being. But they are now released, his lawyers whisking Zakzaky away from court before he could be rearrested. The couple have spent 6 years in detention. Supporters hope they're now allowed to keep their freedom. Faith Orr, Arise News.
All right, let's bring in our correspondent, NISSI GABRIEL, who was at the court in Kaduna today. NISSI, glad to have you join us. Bring us up to speed. We know that he first appeared in court on May 15, 2018. Bring us up to speed with events that played out where you are in Kaduna in the court.
Well, good to talk to you, Indy. This is a long contentious trial. I say so because this trial has lasted for over 3 years. And today, in an 8-hour ruling, Justice Gideon Kurada, in his wisdom, upheld the no-case submission filed by the defense counsel, Femi Falana, SAN, saying that the 15 witnesses presented before the court by the prosecution counsels were unable to establish any connection between the 8-count charge and Sheikh Ibrahim el-Zakzaky. Recall that the Kaduna State government had leveled an 8-count charge against the Sheikh and his wife, bordering on a culpable homicide, disruption of peaceful gathering, among other charges. And the court also said that these charges were filed in the year 2018 in pursuant to penal law enacted by the state government in the year 2017 over charges or offenses or alleged offenses leveled against Sheikh Ibrahim el-Zakzaky in the year 2015. So in other words, the court is saying that you cannot arraign a person over an alleged crime that he had not committed at a time when that crime was not an offense by law.
Is there a sense of justice? I mean, this freedom coming 6 years after the fact, since 2015. How would you say the IMN members are responding to this?
Well, Ngozi, that's a very good question. Well, today, the defendants were brought into the court's premises by the Nigeria Correctional Services amid tight security in Kaduna State. All roads leading to the court premises were blocked because of this trial, which lasted for 8 hours. Well, in terms of how the IMF, the Islamic movement in Nigeria, are responding to this judgment, well, most of them are really happy because for them it's freedom at last for the leader of the proscribed IMN, Islamic movements in Nigeria, because it has been a long-standing trial, as I said earlier, and many of them are really happy that Sheikh Zakzaky and his wife are free at last.
Free at last, that's it. NISSI Gabriel, thank you so much for joining us from Kaduna.